Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of our webinar series here at the beautiful Webb campus in Southern California. Tonight, first off, I'm Allison Hanson. I work in the advancement office here. We're responsible for parent relations and alumni relations, as well as securing resources for the school. And also joining me is Owen Wolf from the admissions department. He is the assistant director for admissions. And last but not least, we have our very special guests, a Webb family, the Kongs. Tonight, we're joined by Jenny Kong and Elisa Kong. The Kongs also have Xander and Isabella as Webb students as well. So for tonight, this should last about a half hour. We're just gonna have a nice conversation with the Kong family, kind of get their thoughts on their experience from both the student perspective and the parent perspective. And towards the end, we'll open it up for some Q&A for you. So this should be a very enjoyable and informative evening. And we'll get started right away with our first question, which is for both of you. How did you hear about Webb at first, and what made you want to apply to the school?
Yeah, definitely. I think I can answer for both of us. But I basically grew up in Claremont and attended a local elementary school. So Webb was always on my mind and something that I always wanted. And I always envisioned myself as part of the Webb community. So I kind of had an advantage knowing about it early.
Wonderful. So as a graduate, do you mind sharing, kind of your journey through Webb, the courses you took, your activities, and any memorable experiences you can think of that kind of stand out for you?
Definitely. I think my favorite course to date was a Spanish literature course. It was an incredible course to take because I've always enjoyed the humanities and I love learning Spanish. So the convergence of two via this course was amazing. That was my favorite. I also loved AP English Lang. And oddly enough, I loved honors linear algebra, a course I took my senior year. I was never one to enjoy math prior to attending Webb. So working through this challenge and getting to delve into such a high level concept was so interesting and rewarding for me. I also loved all of the paleontology courses that I took at Webb, which are so unique to Webb's community because we're the only high school with an accredited museum on campus, which for me was a huge plus and something I definitely wanted to take advantage of from the start. And through this program, I was able to publish a research paper, which finalized my sophomore year of college. And Doc Lofgren sent me the paper in the mail to my Columbia dorm. And I was so excited because I just worked on that experience for 3 years, I think, at Webb. And I loved being able to be involved with the museum. And it really just gave me such a leg up in college as well, because I was already exposed to academic writing and I knew about how publications worked and how peer review was so important. So I'm really grateful that I got to be a part of that. In terms of non-academic experiences, I was student body president my senior year of Webb. So I think that was my main leadership contribution and was definitely transformational in terms of my confidence and who I was as a person. I even started attending student government meetings at Columbia, and then I was elected onto class council at Columbia as well. So it was something that I took from Webb and brought into college. So I attribute just that confidence and leadership initiative to Webb and their awesome student government program and just leadership program in general, since they have so many offerings for all sorts of leaders. Some leadership positions don't even require elections or interviews. So there's really something for everyone.
Wonderful. And Jenny, do you mind giving the parent perspective, some of your memories?
Oh, sure. So I have three children, Elisa being my oldest, and then I have a second daughter who graduated 2018, Isabella. And I have a son who's a current sophomore. And I actually had the opportunity to be involved when Elisa was, I think, a junior at Webb. And I'm so glad I did because as an affiliate member, there's, as a Webb parent, you are automatically part of the affiliates. And I served as the affiliates president for a few years. And being part of the affiliates is a great way to connect with other fellow Webb parents and to be informed with what's happening on the Webb campus. And the affiliates holds a meeting once a month on campus, and they have speakers, and they just have up-to-date information about events that's occurring on campus. So it's a great way to be involved.
Wonderful. Yes, and our affiliates are very important. And I will say for our international families too, that you can join any of those meetings remotely. So that's a great way to get involved. Even if you're an international family, you don't have to be right here and you can still take part in that. So that's really great. Now, Lisa, I know you mentioned you went to Columbia.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, as well as what you've been doing since you graduated from Columbia? So kind of your journey from Webb through college and what you're up to now?
Yeah, definitely. So I applied early decision to Columbia University, and I enrolled. I really enjoyed my experience. As I said before, I was a member of student government. I interned in New York City every semester of attendance, just because I thought, why not? Like, I'm in New York where every company has a headquarters, so that was awesome. I also participated in Columbia's entrepreneurship competition and made it to the finals, which was so cool. I had no business background, so being able to even make it to the next round was huge. And I worked on a couple of nonprofits that I'm proud of, but I really attribute this enthusiasm for pursuing things outside of the classroom to Webb, just because at Webb I was always encouraged to take on activities in all areas and to make sure that I was trying new things and always pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So bringing that spirit to New York was essential, just because it's such an intimidating city to get used to. And Columbia as a whole is intimidating as well because of all the students and esteemed faculty members. But since graduation in May, I started working at Facebook in San Francisco, and I work in the data privacy policy space. So obviously very important and changing by the day. I've gotten to work on really cool COVID-19 related projects as well. So.
Wonderful. So, you know, talking about going to Columbia and all the options you have when it comes to college, how do you feel the college guidance process was for you here? We always talk about fit. You know, everybody wants to go to a very selective school, but how did you end up at Columbia?
Yeah, I really am so thankful to the college guidance program and to the people who kind of lift up that program at Webb. They reach out to you early and often, so we even were able to attend a speaker series with different college representatives our sophomore year, so this was great exposure to the college process. Even if we didn't know where we wanted to go, which many of us did not, myself included, it was great to kind of hear from these different schools and just figure out what our options were. And then we had more personalized meetings our junior and senior years. And what a great aspect of these meetings is that members of the college guidance office actually knew us before they met with us. So this was not like their first introduction to who we were. They would do a lot of preparation in terms of figuring out our impact on campus, speaking to our teachers and our advisors to try to figure out what kind of student we were. And so that was huge for me, was being able to walk into that meeting and feel confident and less stressed about the process because they just knew so much about me. And like you mentioned, it's such a fit-based approach, which I think is so important. I had no idea I wanted to attend Columbia until I had meetings with college guidance and figured out that I wanted to attend school in a city after having grown up in Claremont. And I loved Columbia's core and all of its humanities-focused courses. And so the college guidance office really helped me focus in on that school and find the school where I fit in the most and where I would have the best opportunities to succeed. So I definitely felt supported by college guidance.
And Jenny, would you like to offer your thoughts on the process as kind of a parent? I know it can be a bit of a stressful time when kids are applying to college. Do you feel like any of that stress was a little bit alleviated because of the kind of the long runway we give kids as they're getting ready for college? Was that your experience?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think that, well, with 3 kids, I think, you know, I'm sure with Alexander, it would be a completely different experience. Each one is different. But with Elisa, she's my first, and when she went through Webb, she kept me informed with everything, like, you know, what she was going through at Webb, and if she had her meeting, she told me. And there's a great, great program that they have. Elisa, do you remember that? I think you were a junior, and it takes place at a high school in Pasadena, local Pasadena, right? And then, do you want to talk about that? That was really good because I got to actually accompany her, and we went together. And then that's when we actually, on the way home, really talked about certain colleges because she got to meet a representative from different colleges. And I think
there was a Columbia representative.
There was, but I think you wanted to go to college in Scotland.
Yeah, so I left there wanting to go.
She came back with a wristband saying, "I'm going to St. Andrews."
I wanted to go to St. Andrews because I met the St. Andrews rep, and he was like, "Oh, you grew up in Claremont, like why not move to Europe?" And I was like, "That's a great idea." But I also met the Columbia rep, who was awesome and who shared a lot about the school. So that was just another amazing resource that I got to experience with my mom, which was cool as well. And we were just on the same page in terms of college guidance and my priorities, which is also great since these conversations were happening with both parent and student, not like in a vacuum.
And they also have opportunities for parents to attend these interactive events, and they invite representatives from different colleges each year, and they come and speak, and it's held at the Luchang Theater, which is our main auditorium. And it's held in the evening, and that's for parents to attend. I think you're invited as a junior and as a senior. And I have a sophomore right now, and I know I just received an email too about just what's coming up ahead with everything happening with COVID-19. So I do really feel like, you know, I'm in the loop. And I have to say, my son, who's a sophomore right now, it's a quite different experience. So I kind of have to look at the email and kind of approach him. But yeah, it's been very informative.
Every child is different, so
exactly, yes,
they follow their own path, and and luckily Webb, I think, kind of really embraces that. And another thing I've noticed, and you know, Elisa touched upon that, is just what a safe space this is for kids to kind of take risks and try new things and fail and pick yourself back up again, and just the support you get from the faculty and the students. Just the community we have here is really strong, and that carries all the way to the college guidance process. A lot of our parents are always curious about how they can get involved. Any advice you have for them as new parents, as coming to Webb? What would you tell them? We mentioned the affiliates, but what are other ways they can get involved? And what is some advice you would have for them?
So like I mentioned before, if you, as a Webb parent, you're automatically part of the affiliates. So, you know, there'll be, Jen Liu is our parent liaison, and she, you know, will send out a lot of parentgram, and there are a lot of activities. And if you know, want to first kind of attend some activities and feel it out, there's our major fundraiser in October, which is held on campus, and that's the Webb benefit. And then you can also help out as a teen parent. You can go to, there's always activities happening throughout the year, like the theater arts. So my son is very involved with theater arts. So I'm enjoying attending all the performances. And if it's robotics, if your son or daughter is into robotics, you can go and attend their competitions. There's debate competitions throughout the year. Jess Fisher is wonderful as the debate coach and teacher and support system. We all parents drive the kids to different locations, and you can come help out. You can just be there to support the kids. There's so many ways. Or you can just go and watch a tennis game happening at school, or a tennis swim meet. But it's kind of like a small community. And it's the sense of Webb School is just a community and just welcoming and inclusive.
Right, and I will say, just to kind of add to that, how all those things you mentioned, so many of them are televised live for our families. So they're you can watch them from wherever you are. You don't have to be right here on campus. If you want to take part and make sure you don't miss any of your child's activities, you can log in and make sure to watch them on TV. So one more question I have. So why do you think the Webb experience is worth it? What makes it so special, this place?
Do you want to go first, or why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think a couple of things for me that I've kind of already touched on, so I'll be brief, but I think one is the leadership opportunities that are available for all different kinds of students. It was just unlike anything I've ever really experienced. I always thought about student leaders as a specific, like loud, confident person, but there are really so many ways to get involved on campus and to gain visibility on campus. So having those opportunities for me was so important in terms of getting me ready for college and just helping me know myself and figure out who I am and what I care about. So getting involved in that way was huge. And I think also what was mentioned earlier about like the safe space for me was so important, just because I was able to feel supported and encouraged by faculty members and my peers whenever I was trying something new, just because that's really what Webb is about stepping out of your comfort zone and shedding all of your conceptions about what you're good at and what's important, and just thinking about what you like and what you want to learn. And if you take that opportunity and kind of take a risk, it really, really pays off, and people are all around you to support you, even when you fail. Yeah, I joined 2 varsity sports teams, and and I like tell people in college and they laugh because I'm not athletic at all, but I ended up being varsity captain of both of those teams, like not because I was amazing at the sport, but because I really enjoyed like motivating my teammates and making sure we had like fun bonding experiences. So those small things are there, and they're there for the taking. Then finally, I think diversity at Webb is second to none, and something that I've found to be so transformational in terms of my learning experience, and is actually now a requirement in my mind for an educational experience at college and beyond. Just being a boarding school, there were just so many international voices in my courses and like fresh perspectives on the things that we were talking about. People even had firsthand experience with some of the global issues that we discussed in class, which is unbeatable. And I even chose Columbia in mind because of Columbia's diversity. And so I really developed that aptitude at Webb, and I got used to that learning environment. And so being able to now really value that and make sure that it's a core part of my educational experience is definitely something that I attribute to Webb.
I think that, 4 years of high school, the 4 years are just so transformative in your growth. It's a time to grow so much. I think development, it's so important academically, but as well as developmentally. And I've seen that with Elisa and with Isabella and with Alexander so far. And Webb is a community where your teachers outside of the classroom are your advisors, your sports athletic coaches, your debate team coach, your robotics, coach, and theater arts. So there's a sense of community there, and like Elisa mentioned, just being in a diverse environment, I think is huge. I think the kids take so much away from that, and you learn and you give, and there's so much learning there that one of the programs that Webb has is when you get to host a student at your home, because there's a couple of weekends where, it's just a short weekend and they're not able to fly home, where, your home is Saudi Arabia. And I remember Elisa just enjoyed bringing her friends home, and we as a family love that. And that's another opportunity that, and a great experience that we all as a family got to just enjoy by having Elisa at Webb. And, I was gonna also say is that I think that it's definitely, it's worth it because I remember going to Webb, the orientation at Webb, and because Elisa was, I thought in my mind that she was this piano player, musician, and that's what she was gonna do, is go to the School for Arts and continue to compose music, or that's what I had in my mind. And when she started, I remember attending the orientation, and my worry and my concern was, how is she gonna do the Webb academics, extracurriculars, athletics, arts, and keep up her piano? And, and will she be able to join orchestra? Is she going to make that? But of course, I had no idea that she would be on campus at Webb and find leadership as her calling, So it's just something that, they kind of go through and experience and learn so much about themselves.
Great, very well said, very well said. And one thing you brought up that got me thinking, because I know a lot of people that are joining us are probably international families, and you talked about hosting these families.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about your perspective as a day student versus a boarding student? And, how did you navigate that? And did you, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I was a day student. I lived like 10 minutes from campus, which is great. I got to wake up at 8:15. I did not feel like there was a huge distinction between day students and boarding students in terms of like the academic experience. I thought it was extremely fair. There was no like, oh, these students are getting more time with teachers, since the teachers always had their doors open. So day students were also encouraged to like knock on their door and get to know them as well. But I think also Webb really encourages day students to take part in boarding activities, or what people would traditionally think of as boarding activities, which are really just community activities. So for example, Open Dorm was so much fun. So like boarders would open their rooms, and day students and other students would be able to attend, and there would be karaoke and music, and it was just so much fun. And we had never like been in the dorms before. So it was a fun way to get to know that side of campus. Yeah, I think as a day student, I felt like fully integrated in the community, and I didn't really feel like a day student. I just felt like a student. So being able to take part in those shared experiences was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then one final, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you just like kind of think of 3 words you might describe Webb for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think one would be inclusive. Do you want to add one? I don't know.
I keep saying this word, but community, sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think unbounded would be a really strong word. I know we have like our Webb's Unbounded program where students get to like visit the Monterey Bay Aquarium, or they can shadow a doctor working. But I think unbounded really captures the entire experience. Because it's just above and beyond anything you could conceive of for high school. And also the care that professors or faculty members and peers have for one another is truly unbounded. So being able to develop those relationships both with peers and faculty members was huge.
Well, I think the curriculum it's an unbounded curriculum, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you. It looks like we have a couple questions coming in from parents, so I'll pass it over to Owen so he can help with that.
All right, thank you, Allison. And yes, attendees, if you have questions for our presenters, you can type them into the Q&A tab that appears at the bottom of your screen. You're also welcome to type them into the chat, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can. So diving right in, our first question tonight comes to us from Jenny and Elisa. This question is for you. But for students who are interested in music and who want to keep up with their musical practice when they're at Webb, are there spaces at Webb where they can go and practice and continue with their musical skills?
Yes, definitely. That's something that I also looked for when I first committed. And other than just like formal student groups, so orchestra or like chamber singers, which you can get involved in if you enjoy music, there are spaces on campus with pianos. So there's one in like what was called the Hooper Student Center, which I think is being renovated. There was a piano there that was open access. So I would sometimes like practice on the fly, like really quick before class. And there's a piano in the chapel. I actually played Daughter Strong every chapel meeting my senior and junior year. So it was so cool to be able to play on that historic piano. And I think there are other pianos in like the theater and in other spaces, but Webb is definitely a place where you could schedule time to kind of practice or like have access to those spaces whenever you feel like you want to express yourself musically.
What about like platforms like Jubilee?
Am I definitely, right?
Like Jubilee for sure. And Web Idol, where you can go and sing or play an instrument.
There are more casual gatherings like Jubilee, for example, which happens on like a lawn, and it's like almost like a Coachella-esque Webb student performance festival where you can like sing a song, or you can play an instrument or rap even, and with the built-in audience.
And Elisa, you mentioned the Hooper Center. A quick reminder to our attendees: Hooper is being renovated and is scheduled to open this fall. So we're going to have some great new resources there for our students as well. So our next question, and this is for the both of you, comes to us from Rita. But what opportunities are there for sophomores to get involved with the college guidance program at Webb?
Yeah, so I think we mentioned one of them, which was sort of like the panelists from different colleges. They kind of have representatives come to kind of talk to you about the college process and their respective school. I think they also have a lot of great like student-to-student resources. So like alumni, my sophomore year, actually came and talked about their college experience and what it was like transitioning from Webb to college. And then, as I said before, I've always seen the college guidance doors open. So any like personal concerns or like one-on-one appointments can definitely be made as early as sophomore year. I wasn't really thinking about it then. I was still trying to like figure myself out and have fun. But yeah, there are definitely those like organized speaker events that happen during that year.
Mm-hmm. Also, I want to mention at the affiliates meetings, I know that each year they have something called College Night, and that's when at Jackson Library they have they host the Webb alumni come back from different colleges, and they answer questions and they share their experiences about, you know, like their first year in college to as a graduating senior in college. So that's another way to get connected.
Wonderful, thank you. So our next question, also for the both of you, if you could hop into a time machine and do your Webb experience all over again, what, if anything, would either of you do differently if you could do it for a second time?
There's not much I would do differently. I loved my experience. I always tell people in college that I loved high school and they're always confused. But I think I would definitely go to more events. I think just doing everything as much as you can and like just experiencing everything is so important. So on the days where I wasn't feeling up to it or I was feeling busy, I wish I would have like gone to that dance or watched that soccer game or attended that like student event, other than just the ones that student government was hosting, since there were so many and geared towards so many different students.
Great advice.
It's true.
And our next question, so earlier, Jenny, you mentioned that Elisa came to Webb and you thought she was going to continue with music, and then this door to leadership was opened. And Elisa, you also mentioned joining 2 varsity sports teams. How did Webb support you as you were getting outside of your comfort zone and trying these new activities?
I definitely leaned on the faculty members so much, and because they doubled as advisors and teachers and coaches, they were so familiar with all aspects of the Webb experience. So going to my math teacher meant also having a mentor and an advisor. So all freshmen are actually assigned an advisor, and at least for BWS students, we get another advisor a sophomore year who continues into senior year, so you can really build like a super strong relationship. I was close to my advisor. She was also the teacher of Spanish literature when I took it, so she was both like an advisor and also a professor to me. And so I think all of the like stress that comes with trying new things, I managed that by leaning on them. And then also my friends as well. I think Webb is a place where there's so many fun community events that you really learn to be a team player and to bond with your friends and to become really socially active. And so I have like a group of 10 friends who I still connect with even today after college and after our first like job interviews. We still like Zoom, especially during this period, and catch up.
Wonderful, thank you.
Question about the food.
Yes, how's the food at Webb?
So I'm like an expert on this subject. I was hoping someone would ask. It's so good. I think they do breakfast really well. So fun fact, day students, please take advantage of the breakfast offerings. I would go before practice or on the weekends. They have really good like hash browns and eggs. It was so embarrassing.
I think you were just having that conversation the other day with your siblings, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's still there, but there was this really good chicken sandwich that all of the alums talk about. It's like
It's still there.
It's still there? Okay, great.
It's awesome.
Oh, maybe I'll have
Right,
to.
and I can kind of speak to it too, as you know, because I do live on campus. My husband is a humanities teacher and the wrestling coach and a lead class advisor. So we're like really grateful to live so close to the dining hall and have basically 3 meals a day there. And I can say unequivocally the food is delicious and plentiful, and we're very grateful for it. So
Yeah, and a lot of options too. So for like different dietary restrictions, there's a ton of accommodations.
for sure.
Well, unfortunately for our attendees, our time together is drawing to a close. But one final question for our presenters: what should, how can new Webb families find success within Webb and within the Webb community? Very big question, I know.
I would say success really comes out of lifting up the people around you, and that's coming from someone who was lifted up by the people around me and who's experienced doing the same. So I think the community aspect of Webb will allow you to truly fulfill your potential and pursue success. So I think always remembering that you're a part of a community and you're part of a team, and both like contributing and taking from that will definitely result in success.
I guess from my perspective as a parent is to have an open mind and encourage your children who are attending Webb to, try things out of their comfort zone. Try things, and it's okay to, these 4 years, it's okay to go and extend yourself a little bit. And, that's how you connect, you meet new people, you find out, you discover something about yourself. And Webb is a place that you can definitely do that. It's, you can join anything. There's everything is it's kind of like a club basis where you can sign up. You don't have to have this, have an expertise on debate or tennis. I mean, I know from experience, my kids, when they tried out tennis, I thought, can you keep score? Yeah, you're trying out for tennis. Can you keep score? But so it's such a great way to just try something that is out of your comfort zone. And as a parent, I think, and I learned with her, and then with my second and third, is that have an open mind and encourage your children to step out of the comfort zone and try different things and grow and learn.
And I think effort is really rewarded. So it's not so much about skill, but it's about like how much you're willing to put into it. And if you're trying and bringing a part of yourself to the table and really putting in hard work, your results will be recognized and celebrated.
So true. Well said.
Very well said.
No.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I hope you found this as formative and enjoyable as I did. And I want to thank you, Jenny, for joining us, and Elisa, and also Owen. And we'll have a wonderful day, evening, morning, whatever time it is where you are. And we hope to see you again.